Yes, got it. Oh, is everybody okay with it being live streamed to YouTube? I guess I should have asked that before I even started.
This meeting is being live streamed. Oh, okay. Got it.
We'll keep our clothes on.
Well, speak for yourself, CJ. How are you doing? How's your hip?
Well, this is the most active I've been in many days. Tomorrow will be 2 weeks since I got a new hip.
Oh my gosh. Goodness.
Okay. So we have an Edward III. Who wants to read Edward III? Raise your hand. No.
Who else here? Oh, Eric raised his hand. I saw it.
Eric is reading Edward III. We need a Prince Edward. Not Prince Edward Island, but Prince Edward. Anybody? Bueller?
Oh my gosh. Sorry, I just now saw Natasha's here and she's waving her hand. Hi, Natasha.
Hey, Natasha, you want to read Prince Edward? Okay. So we need the Earl of Warwick and also later Philip.
I'll do that. I played Earl of Warwick before.
Okay, Broshar is going to be Earl of Warwick and Philip. We need an Earl of Derby. Okay, CJ, Earl of Derby. We need a Lord Audley. Is that correct?
Sure, I'll read Audley.
Okay. Mycroft is Lord of Audley. We need King John of France. I'll read King John of France. How about that? And I'm going to read Sir William Montague as well. This is a fun one. We need a King David of Scotland.
Yeah,
I cough.
Anybody want to practice their Scottish accent?
I nominate Mycroft.
I can't do Scots.
Julianne, why don't you do?
I'll give it a go.
And you'll also do the King of Bohemia, and the King of Bohemia. We also need a Earl of Douglas, another Scots person. Anybody? Bueller.
Amanda volunteered.
Okay. Amanda, you do the Earl of Douglas, and there's like the Earl of Salisbury along with that, and some like random French people.
I volunteer to take whatever's left, just FYI at the end.
Okay. We need the Countess of Salisbury.
That's a great role.
Okay.
Natasha?
Yeah, Natasha, if you want to do the Countess of Salisbury, even though I think Prince Edward and the Countess of
Do they talk a lot?
Yeah, they do.
Nice. I can't wait.
Where's Gina?
Maybe.
Goober or Christy or Karen, do y'all want to read?
I can. I don't have the script or anything.
Oh,
it's on your email.
I didn't send her an email, so.
Wait, can we? Jason, can you post the link in the chat? I think you can just post it in the chat.
Yeah.
I can email.
I don't know. I can't figure out how to make it go down. Oh wait, there we go. Never mind, it works.
Email might be easier since I'm doing Zoom on my phone.
Wait, did I lose y'all?
Nope. We're right here.
Okay.
Hi.
Okay, let me see if this worked. I'm sure this is like the most what am I trying to say? This is the most interesting part of our Zoom at the moment.
I hope not.
Okay.
I got back in.
Yay, Gina. Hi. I just said a minute ago, where did Gina go?
I was having trouble with my video, but now and I had to download some updates. I'm good. I hope.
Okay.
Is this the edited script?
This is the edited. This is the one that you edited, I believe.
Yeah,
And so-
I edited it. Okay. Let me see.
Mike
Okay.
was like, I've never seen this before in my life.
What's a different font?
Oh,
the last one, like I think we are desperate in need of is Charles. That's
Yeah.
that's
It's a Dauphin.
yeah, the Dauphin Charles.
well, give Gina something. So she got kicked out and just got back in.
Oh,
So Gina, how about you take the Charles the Dauphin? Dauphin.
hang on. I can't see you.
No, okay.
I'm stuck. Oh gosh.
Am I reading something?
Who do you want me to read, Charles?
Yeah. Goober, if you just wanted to like fill in, like if someone doesn't get this something in time, fill in. I know like
Oddly, it's a small part I can fill in too.
I know like there's a lot of like inhabitants of Calais that need, and a bunch of like heralds and old Frenchmen and just like random things. So
Some of those herald
Anybody else?
speeches are pretty nice. Artois, did you get an Artois?
I'm
Jason,
not
how
sure.
do we get a copy of the edited script? Where's that at?
If you go to chat, I think I put a link in there.
It's hard to maneuver though.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess what we like to do in these Zoom readings is that if you're not quote unquote on stage, just like hide your video and like mute yourself. And normally I'm not a fan of accents, but since we have like lots of French and lots of Scottish, and feel free to play around with some accents or something.
I say everyone get your accents out of your system now, and then
Yeah, all I know is you know nothing, Jon Snow. And that's like, that's literally it. So you're not going to want that from me. You're not. No one's going to want that.
are you sure?
But you know, I'll throw an accent in there.
It's like Monty Python. No accent is a bad accent.
There are no
No
bad
French
questions.
accents.
Just make sure that it's audible or that you can understand.
Intelligible.
Intelligible. Thank you.
My God, your library behind you is just so cool. I'm
Oh,
so
thank you.
envious.
Yeah, I'm thinking I should have faced that direction.
Right? Then you could be cool too.
Right.
Dr. Mykoff, do you want to give on
Yeah.
Edward III?
So Jason asked me to say something about the authorship questions and the historical background, and both of them can get incredibly maddeningly complicated. So I'm going to try to do, since brevity is the soul of wit, I'm going to try to be brief, and I'll stick to my notes so I don't go off on a professorial digression. So the script of Edward III survives in two early printed editions from 1596 and 1599. Like most plays that made it into print during Shakespeare's time, no playwright or playwrights are mentioned. Typically only the printer and sometimes the theater company that acted the play and owned the script were mentioned. There isn't surviving further mention of the play until 1656, when it, in a bookseller's catalog, it's included in a list of Shakespeare's play. Some scholars speculate that the play fell out of favor because of its negative caricatures of the King of Scots and Scots in general, since, a few years later in 1603, James VI of Scotland became James I of England, and he and his Scots courtiers were, in a sense, somewhat different from what we mean today, culturally sensitive. Um, there were occasional instances of scholars attributing the play in whole or in part to Shakespeare in subsequent years, but it was really sophisticated statistical studies of style during the 1990s that really set the process of accepting the play in motion. And so it's more than just a bunch of people sitting around saying, oh, I like this, so it must be Shakespeare, or I don't like it, so it couldn't possibly be Shakespeare. It's rather more involved on a scholarly level. Today, there's a growing number of prominent scholars, including Sir Jonathan Bate, whom some of you may recognize as a very big shot in Shakespeare studies, who accept the play as in whole or in part as Shakespeare. And it appears in the latest editions of the complete works of Shakespeare in the Arden, the Riverside, the Cambridge, and the Oxford collected Shakespeares, among others. Some scholars argue the entire play is Shakespeare, others that at least Act 1, Scene 2, Act 2, Scene 1 and 2, Act 4 are Shakespeare. There's no consensus about a possible collaborator or collaborators, although Thomas Kyd is often mentioned. Any of you who know the Spanish tragedy are familiar with Thomas Kyd. Most plays of the period that survived were collaborations to one extent or another. So, I mean, if there's anything unusual about Shakespeare, it's the number of plays that he wrote himself. That's pretty much what I have. It seems to me the evidence is as strong for this play as it is for the Henry VI plays, and those collaborations with others at the end of his career in Pericles and Coriolanus and the two noble kinsmen, John Fletcher and George Wilkins in particular. Historical background. Most of the events depicted in the play took place between 1346 and 1356, with several dating back to 1329, 1337, and especially 1341. That's where the Countess of Salisbury events come from. So the play compresses in about 15 years or so of history into what seems to me to be about 2 or 3 weeks on the stage. And among other things, that of course makes pinpointing the age of the characters a little difficult, since for example, Edward of Woodstock, the Prince of Wales, was 16 at the Battle of Crécy in 1346 and 26 at the Battle of Poitiers in 1356. And there are some characters depicted as surviving through the end of the play where their historical equivalents died sometime during that 15-year span. All this makes pinning down the age of the characters a problem, though I guess it gives a director a lot of leeway in casting. The play doesn't deal with the War of the Roses. It alludes fairly briefly to King Edward's wars with Scotland, but it focuses mainly on the ongoing conflict with France over the French crown and English possessions in what had become or was becoming France. It's all incredibly convoluted, but the big event in this play is the capture of King John of France by the English at the Battle of Poitiers, which, as the play alludes to, was followed by King John being held in England for ransom for 4 years. The ransom was incredibly huge, it crippled the French economy for a number of years. So that's what I have. That's probably enough for our purposes.
All right. Thanks, David. And it is real interesting because as you read it, anybody that's familiar with Shakespeare will say, "Hey, this sounds a lot like Shakespeare," and the other parts be like, "This doesn't sound anything like Shakespeare." So, and
yeah.
Another quick question before we start: the King David of Scotland, that's the same King David as Braveheart, right?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure on that. I'm in the midst of reading an 800-page biography of Edward III, and I haven't really looked into the Scottish matters too much.
Okay.
But yeah.
All right. Without further ado, why don't we jump into this? Act 1, Scene 1, London, a room of state in the palace. Flourish. Do, 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 do. Enter King Edward, Darby, Prince Edward, Audley, and Artois.
Robert of Artois, banished though thou be from France, thy native country, yet with us thou shalt retain as great a seigniory, for we create the Earl of Richmond here. And now we go forwards with our pedigree. Who next succeeded Philip le Beau?
Artois. Do we have Artois?
3 sons of his, which all successively did sit upon their father's regal throne, yet died and left no issue of their loins.
But was my mother sister unto those?
As she was, my lord, and only Isabel was all the daughters that this Philip had, whom afterward your father took to wife, and from the fragrant garden of her womb, your gracious self, the flower of Europe's hope, derived his inheritor to France. But doth the rancor of rebellious minds, when thus the lineage of Le Beau was out, the French obscured your mother's privilege, and though she were the next of blood, proclaimed John of the house of Valois now their king. The reason was, they say, the realm of France, replete with princes of great parentage, ought not admit a governor to rule, except he be descended of the male, and that's the special ground of their contempt, wherewith they study to exclude your grace.
Oh, is it cut there?
I don't think so. I'm reading off the hard copy I used because I couldn't make the Edward, but they shall find the forged ground of theirs.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Edward? Okay. I have it as Artois.
Well,
But they shall
right.
find that forged ground of theirs to be but dusty heaps of brittle sand.
Perhaps it will be thought a heinous thing that I, a Frenchman, should discover this, but heaven I call to record of my vows. It is not hate nor any private wrong, but love unto my country and the right provokes my tongue thus lavish in report. You are the lineal watchman of our peace, and John of Valois indirectly climbs. What then should subjects but embrace their king? Ah, wherein may our duty more be seen than striving to rebate a tyrant's pride and place the true shepherd of our commonwealth?
This counsel, Artois, like to fruitful showers, hath added growth unto my dignity. And by the fiery vigor of thy words, hot courage is engendered in my breast, which heretofore was raked in ignorance, but now doth mount with golden wings of fame, and will approve fair Isabel's descent, able to yoke their stubborn necks with steel, then spurn against my sovereignty in France. A messenger, Lord Audley. Know from whence?
The Duke of Lorraine, having crossed the seas, entreats he may have conference with your highness.
Admit him, lords, that we may hear the news. Say, Duke of Lorraine, wherefore art thou come?
Do we have a Duke of Lorraine? The most renowned prince, King John of France, doth greet thee, Edward, and by me commands that for so much as by his liberal gift, the Guyenne dukedom is entailed to thee. Thou do him lowly homage for the same. And for that purpose here I summon thee, repair to France within these 40 days, that there, according as the custom is, thou mayest be sworn true liegeman to our king, or else thy title in that province dies, and he himself will repossess the place.
See how occasion laughs me in the face. No sooner minded to prepare for France, but straight I am invited, nay, with threats, upon a penalty, enjoined to come. 'Twere but a childish part to say him nay. Lorraine, return this answer to thy lord. I mean to visit him as he requests. But how? Not servilely disposed to bend, but like a conqueror, to make him bow. Dared he command a fealty in me? Tell him, the crown that he usurps is mine. And where he sets his foot, he ought to kneel. 'Tis not a petty dukedom that I claim, but all the whole dominions of the realm, which if the grudging he refuse to yield, I'll take away those borrowed plumes of his and send him naked to the wilderness.
Then, Edward, here, in spite of all thy lords, I do pronounce defiance in thy face.
So this is the Prince of Wales.
Prince Edward. I think that's Natasha.
Oh, balls. I'm coming.
I don't see that in the script.
Defiance, Frenchman.
Yeah, defiance, Frenchman. We
Rock
rebound
it.
it back, even to the bottom of thy master's throat. I hold thy message, but as Furious, and him that sent thee, like the lazy drone, crept up by stealth onto the eagle's nest, from whence we'll shake him with so rough a storm as others shall be warned by his harm.
Bid him leave of the lion's case he wears, least meeting with the lion in the field he chanced to tear him piecemeal for his pride.
The soundest counsel I can give his grace is to surrender ere he be constrained. A voluntary mischief hath less scorn than when reproach with violence is born.
Degenerate traitor, viper to the place where thou wast fostered in thine infancy, bearest thou a part in this conspiracy?
Lorraine, behold the sharpness of this steel. Fervent desire that sits against my heart is far more thorny prickling than this blade. Until my colors be displayed in France, this is my final answer. So be gone.
It is not that, nor any English brave, afflicts me so, as doth his poison view that is most false, should most of all be true. Exit Lorraine and train. Hey, listen, rhymes.
Now, Lord, our fleeting bark is under sail. Our gage is thrown and war is soon begun, but not so quickly bought unto an end. But wherefore comes Sir William Montague? How stands the league between the Scot and us?
Cracked and dissevered, my renowned lord. The treacherous king no sooner was informed of your drawing of your army back, but straight, forgetting his former oath, he made invasion on the bordering towns. Warwick is won, Newcastle spoiled and lost, and now the tyrant has begirt and with siege the castle of Roxborough, which enclosed the Countess Salisbury is like to perish. Oh my God!
That is thy daughter, Warwick, is it not? Whose husband hath in Bretagne served so long, about the planting of Lord Montfort there.
It is, my lord.
Ignoble David, hast thou none to give, but silly ladies with thy threatening arms? First, therefore, Audley, this shall be thy charge. Go levy footmen for our wars in France. And Ned, take muster of our men at arms. What's that?
This is funny. Ned.
It's funny
Ned
as
is,
there's.
Ned is Prince Edward.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, Prince Edward.
Oh,
Yeah. Ned, take muster of our men at arms in every shire, elect a several band. Let them be soldiers of a lusty spirit, such as dead nothing but dishonor blot. Be wary, therefore, since we do commence a famous war with so mighty a nation. Derby, be thou ambassador for us, unto our father-in-law, the Earl of Hainault. Make him acquainted with our enterprise, and likewise will him with our own allies. that are in Flanders, to solicit to the Emperor Almain in our name. Myself, whilst you are jointly thus employed, will, with these forces that I have at hand, march and once more repulse that traitorous Scot. But sirs, be resolute. We shall have wars on every side, and Ned, thou must begin now to forget thy study, and thy books, and thy shoulders to an armor's weight.
It's cheerful sounding to my youthful spleen, this tumult is of war's increasing broils, as at the coronation of a king, the joyful clamors of the people are, when Abe Caesar, they pronounce aloud. Within this school of honor I shall learn, either to sacrifice my foes to death, or in a rightful quarrel spend my breath. Then cheerfully forward, each a several way. In great affairs 'tis not to use delay.
All right. Act 1, Scene 2, Roxborough before the castle. We need Edward, Warwick, Montague, Lorraine, King David, Earl of Douglas, two messengers, and the Countess of Salisbury.
I'm already Warwick, so.
Okay.
Oh, did I say I was the Countess? I said I was
yeah,
something.
I believe it.
Okay, alas. How much in vain my poor eyes gaze for successor that my sovereign should send. Ah, cousin Montague, I fear thou wants the lively spirit sharply to solicit with vehement suit the king in my behalf. Thou dost not tell him what a grief it is to be the scornful captive of a Scot, either to be wooed with broad untuned oaths or forced by rough insulting barbarism. Thou dost not tell him, if he here prevail, how much they will deride us in the north, and in their wild, uncivil skipping gigs, bray forth their conquest. Hold on. Bray for their conquests.
Yeah.
I lost my place around insulting barbarism. Thou dost not tell him, if he here prevail, how much they will deride us in the north, and in their wild, uncivil skipping gigs, bray forth their conquest and our overthrow, even in their barren, bleak, and fruitless air.
Enter David and Douglas.
I must withdraw. The everlasting foe comes to the wall. I'll closely step aside and list their babble, blunt and full of pride.
King David? Scots David?
Not me.
I think that was.
I can do it if I don't see Earl of Derby here.
Okay. Go for it, CJ. You're now King David.
Okay. My lord of Lorraine, to our brother of France commend us, as the man in Christendom that we most reverence and entirely love. Touching your embassage, return and say that we with England will not interparley, nor never make fair weather or take truce, but burn their neighbor towns, and so persist with eager rods beyond their city, York, and never shall our bonny riders rest, nor rusting canker have the time to eat their light-born snaffles, nor their nimble spurs, nor lay aside their jacks of gimald melee, nor hang their staves of grained Scottish ash in peaceful wise upon their city walls, nor from their button tawny leathern belts dismiss their biting wynards, till your king cry out, enough, spare England now for pity. Farewell, and tell him that you leave us here before this castle. Say you came from us, even when we had that yielded to our hands.
I take my leave and fairly will return. Your acceptable greeting to my king.
Now, Douglas, to our former task again for the division of this certain spoil.
My liege, I crave the lady and no more.
Nay, soft, sir, sir. First, I must make my choice, and first I do bespeak her for myself.
Why then, my liege, let me enjoy her jewels.
Those are her own, still liable to her, and who inherits her hath those all. withal.
In our Scotland haste, my liege, liege, as we are trekking on to the hills to fetch the body, marching hitherward, we might descry a mighty hoist of men. The sun, reflecting on the armor, showed a field of plate, a wood of pricks advanced. Bethink your highness speedy herein. An easy march within 4 hours will bring the hindmost rank into this place, my liege.
Dislodge, dislodge. It is the King of England.
Come on, man, settle my bunny back.
Means you to fight, Douglas. We are too weak.
I know it well, my liege, and therefore fly.
Oh, my lords of Scotland, will ye stay and drink?
He mocks at us, Douglas. I cannot endure it.
Say, good my lord, which is he must have the lady, and which her jewels? I am sure, my lords, ye will not hence till you have shared the spoils.
She heard the messenger and heard our talk, and now that comfort makes her scorn as us.
Arm, my good lord. Oh, we are surprised.
After the French ambassador, my liege, and tell him that you dare not ride to York. Excuse me. Excuse it that your bony horse is lame.
She heard that too. Intolerable grief. Woman, farewell, although I do not stay.
Not for fear, and yet you run away. Oh, happy comfort. Welcome to our home. The confident and boisterous boasting Scot that swore before my walls they would not back for all the armed power of this land, which faceless fear that ever turns his back, turned hence against the blasting northeast wind, on the bare report and name of arms. Oh, summer's day, see where my cousin comes.
How fares my aunt? We are not Scots. Why do you shut your gates against your friends?
Well, may I give a welcome cousin to thee, for thou comest well to chase my foes from hence.
The king himself has come in person hither. Dear aunt, descend and congratulate his highness.
How may I entertain his majesty to show my duty and his dignity?
What, are the stealing foxes fled and gone before we could uncouple at their heels?
They are, my liege, but with a dreadful cry, cheerful cry, hot hounds and hardy chase them at their heels.
This is the Countess, Warwick, is it not?
Even she, my liege, whose beauty tyrants fear as a May blossom with pernicious winds hath sullied, withered, overcast, and done.
Hath she been fairer, Warwick, than she is?
Oh, my gracious king, fair is she not at all. If that herself were by to stain herself, as I have seen her when she was herself. God.
What strange enchantment lurked in those her eyes? When they excelled this excellence they have, that now her dim decline hath power to draw my subject eyes from pursing majesty to gaze upon her with doting admiration.
Duty lower than the ground I kneel, and for my dull knees bow my feeling heart to witness my obedience to your highness, with many millions of a subject's thanks. For this your royal presence, whose approach hath given war and danger from my gate.
Lady, stand up. I come to bring thee peace. However, thereby I have purchased war.
No war to you, my liege. The Scots are gone and gallop home toward Scotland with their hate.
Least yielding here, I pine in shameful love. Come, we'll pursue the Scots, Artois, away.
Little while, my gracious sovereign, stay, and let the power of mighty king honor our roof. My husband in the wars, when he shall hear it, will triumph for joy. Being at the wall, enter our homely gate.
Pardon me, Countess. I will come no near. I dream tonight of treason, and I fear.
Far from this place let ugly treason lie.
No farther off than thy conspiring eye, which shoots infected poison in my heart, beyond repulsive wit or cure of art. Warwick, Artois, to horse, and let's away.
What might I speak to make my sovereign stay?
What needs a tongue to such a speaking eye that more persuades than winning oratory?
Let not thy presence, like the April sun, flatter our earth and suddenly be done. More happy do not make our outward wall than thou wilt grace our inner house withal. More gracious than my terms can let thee be, entreat thyself to stay a while with me.
Wise, this fair, what fond fit can be heard when wisdom keeps the gate at beauty's guard? It shall attend, while I attend on thee. Come on, my lords, here will I host tonight.
Oh, snap.
All right. Act 2, scene 1. The same. Gardens of the castle. Inner Lodwick. Do we have a Lodwick? A Wadwick?
Who is Lodwick?
I might perceive his eye and her eye lost, his ear to drink her sweet tongue's utterance, and changing passions like inconstant clouds that rack upon the carriage of the winds, increase and die in his disturbed cheeks. Lo, when she blushed, even then did he look pale, and if her cheeks by some enchanted power attracted had the cherry blood from his, anon with reverent fear, when she grew pale, his cheeks put on their scarlet ornaments, but no more like her oriental red than brick to coral or live things to death. Why did he then thus counterfeit her looks? If she did blush, 'twas tender, modest shame, being in the sacred presence of a king. If he did blush, 'twas red, immodest shame, to veil his eyes amiss, being a king. If she looked pale, 'twas silly woman's fear to bear herself in presence of a king. If he looked pale, it was with guilty fear to dote amiss, being a mighty king. Then Scottish wars, farewell, I fear to approve, a lingering English siege of peevish love. Here comes his highness walking all alone.
She has grown more fair afar since I come hither. Her voice more silver every word than other, her wit more fluent. What a strange discourse unfolded she at David and his Scots. Even thus, quoth she, he spake, and then spoke broad with epithets and accents of the Scot. But somewhat better than the Scot could speak. When she would talk of peace, methinks her tongue commanded war to prison. When of war, it wakened Caesar from his Roman grave to hear war beautified by her discourse. Wisdom is foolishness, but in her tongue, beauty is no summer, but in her cheerful looks, nor frosty winter, but in her disdain. I cannot blame the Scots that they did besiege her, for she is all the treasure of our land, and call them cowards that they ran away, having so rich and fair a cause to stay. Art thou there, Lodwick? Give me ink and paper.
I will, my liege.
And bid the lords hold on their play at chess, for we will walk and meditate alone.
I will, my sovereign.
This fellow is well read in poetry and hath a lusty and persuasive spirit. I will acquaint him with my passion, which he shall shadow with a veil of lawn, though which the Queen of Beauty's queen shall see, herself the ground of my infirmity. Hast thou pen, ink, and paper, Lodwick? Ready, Lodwick?
Ready, my liege.
Then in the summer arbor sit by me. Make it our council house or cabinet. Since green are thoughts, green be the conventicle, where we shall ease us by disburdening them. Now, Lodwick, invocate some golden muse to bring thee hither an enchanted pen that may for sighs set down true sighs indeed, talking of grief, to make thee ready grown. If thou be a poet, move thou so. And be enriched by thy sovereign's love. For if the touch of sweet concordant strings could force attendance in the ears of hell, how much more shall the strains of poets' wit beguile and ravish soft and human minds?
To whom, my lord, shall I direct my style?
To one that shames the fair and soughts the wise, whose body is an abstract or a brief, contains each general virtue in the world. Forget not to set down how passionate, how heartsick, and how full of languishment her beauty makes me.
Write I to a woman?
What beauty else could triumph over me? What thinkst thou, I did bid this praise a horse? Right on, while I pursue her in my thoughts. Her hair, far softer than the silkworm's twist, like a flattering glass, doth make more fair the yellow amber. Like a flattering glass, comes in too soon, for writing of her eyes, I'll say that like a glass that catch the sun, and thence the hot reflection doth rebound, and thence the hot reflection doth rebound against the breast, and burns my heart within. Ah, what a world of dissent makes my soul upon this voluntary ground of love. Come, Lodowick, hast thou turned thy ink to gold? Read, Lord, read. Fill thou the empty hollows of mine ears with the sweet hearing of thy poetry.
I have not to a period brought her praise.
Her praise is as my love, both infinite, which apprehend such violent extremes that they disdain an ending period. Then wherefore talkest thou of a period to that which craves unended admiration? Read, let us hear.
More fair and chaste than is the queen of shades.
That line hath two faults, gross and palpable. Comparest thou her to the pale queen of night, who being set in dark seems therefore light? What is she, when the sun lifts up his head, but like a fading taper, dim and dead? My love shall brave the eye of heaven at noon, and being unmasked, outshine the golden sun.
What is the other fault, my sovereign lord?
Oh, read over the line again.
More fair and chaste.
I did not bid thee talk of chastity, for I had rather have her chaste than chaste. Out with thy moonline, I will none of it. And let her have her I likened to the sun. Say she hath thrice more splendor than the sun, that her perfections emulate the sun, that she breeds sweet as the plenteous as the sun, that she doth thaw cold winter like the sun, that she doth cheer fresh summer like the sun, that she doth dazzle gazers like the sun. And in this application to the sun, bid her be free and general as the sun, who smiles upon the basest weed that grows as lovingly as on the fragrant rose. Let's see what follows that same moonlight line.
More fair and chaste than is the queen of shades, more bold in constancy.
In Constance? Then who?
Than Judith was.
Ah, monstrous line. Put in the next a sword, and I shall woo her to cut off my head. Blot, good Lodowick. Let us hear the next.
That's all that is yet done.
I thank thee then. Thou hast done little ill. But what is done is passing ill. Love cannot sound but in lovers' tongues. Give me the pen and paper. I will write. But soft. Here comes the treasurer of my spirit. Lodowick, thou knowst not how to draw a battle. These wings, these flankers, and these squadrons argue in thee defective discipline. Thou shouldst have placed this here, this other here.
Pardon my boldness, my thrice gracious lords. Let my intrusion here be called my duty that comes to see my sovereign how he fares.
Go draw the same. I tell thee in what form.
I go.
Sorry, I am to see my liege so sad. What may thou subject do to drive from thee thy gloomy consort, sullen melancholy?
Ah, lady, I am blunt, and cannot strew the flowers of solace in a ground of shame. Since I came hither, Countess, I am wronged.
God forbid that any in my house should think my sovereign wrong. Christ, gentle king, acquaint me with your cause of discontent.
Here near, then shall I be to remedy.
As near, my liege, as all my woman's power can pawn itself to buy thy remedy.
If thou speakest true, then have I my redress. Engage thy power to redeem my joys, and I am joyful, Countess, else I die.
I will, my liege.
Swear, Countess, that thou wilt.
By heaven, I will.
Then take thyself a little way aside, and tell thyself, a king doth dote on thee. Say that within thy power it doth lie, to make him happy, and that thou hast sworn to give him all the joy within thy power. Do this, and tell me when I shall be happy.
All this is done, my thrice dread sovereign. The power of love that I have power to give, thou hast with all devout obedience. Employ me how thou wilt in proof thereof.
Thou heardst me say that I do dote on thee.
If on my beauty, take it if thou canst, though little I do prize it 10 times less. If on my virtue, take it if thou canst, for virtue's store by giving doth augment. Be it on what it will that I can give, and thou canst take away. Inherit it.
It is thy beauty that I would enjoy.
Oh, were it painted, I would wipe it off and dispossess myself to give it thee. But sovereign, it is soldiered on my life. Take one and both, for like a humble shadow, it haunts the sunshine of my summer's life.
Thou mayst lend it to me to sport withal.
As easy may my intellectual soul be lent away, and yet my body live, as lend my body, Alice to my soul, away from her, and yet retain my soul. My body is her bower, her court, her abbey, and she an angel pure, divine, unspotted. If I should leave her house, my lord, to thee, I kill my poor soul, and my poor soul me.
Didst thou not swear to give me what I would?
I did, my liege. So what you would, I could.
I wish no more of thee than thou mayst give, nor beg I do not, but I rather buy, that is, thy love, and for the love of thine, in rich exchange, I tender to thee mine.
But that your lips were sacred, my lord, you would profane the holy name of love. That love you offer me, you cannot give. That love you beg of me, I cannot give. He that doth clip or counterfeit your stamp shall die, my lord, and will your sacred self commit high treason against the King of Heaven, stamp his image in forbidden metal, forgetting your allegiance and your oath? In violating marriage sacred law, you break a greater honor than yourself. It is the penalty to break your statutes, though not enacted with your highness' hand. Much more to infringe the holy act made by the mouth of God, sealed with this hand. I know, my sovereign, in my husband's love, who now doth loyal service in his wars, doth but so try the wife of Salisbury whether she will hear a wanton's tale or no. As being therein guilty by my stay, from that, not my liege, I turn away.
Whether is her beauty by her words divine, or are her words sweet chaplains to her beauty? Like as the wind doth beautify a sail, and as a sail becomes the unseen wind, so do her words, her beauty's words. Oh, that I were a honey-gathering bee, to bear the comb of virtue from this flower, and not a poison-sucking, envious spider to turn the juice I take to deadly venom. Religion is austere and beauty gentle, too strict a guardian for so fair a ward. Oh, that she were, as is the air to me, why, so she is, for when I would embrace her, this do I, and catch nothing but myself, I must enjoy her, for I cannot beat with reason and reproof fond love away. Here comes her father. I will work with him to bear my colors in this field of love.
How is it that my sovereign is so sad? May I with pardon know your highness' grief, and that my old endeavor will remove it. It shall not cumber long your majesty.
A kind and voluntary gift thou preferest, that I was forward to have begged of thee. But O thou world, great nurse of flattery, why dost thou tip men's tongues with golden words, and pease their deeds with weight of heavy lead, that fair performance cannot follow promise? Oh, that a man might hold the heart close book, and choke the lavish tongue when it doth utter the breath of falsehood not charactered there.
Far be it from the honor of my age that I should owe bright gold and render lead. Age is a cynic, not a flatterer. I say again that if I knew your grief, and that by me it may be lessened, my proper harm should buy your highness's good.
These are the vulgar tenders of false men, that never pay the duty of their words. I will not stick to swear what thou hast said, but then thou knowest my grief's condition. This rash, disgorged vomit of thy word, thou wilt eat up again, and leave me helpless.
By heaven, I will not, though your majesty bid me run upon your sword and die.
Say that my grief is no way medicinable, but by the loss and bruising of thine honor.
If nothing but that loss may vantage you, I would accompt that loss my vantage too.
Think'st thou canst unswear thy oath again?
I cannot, nor I would not if I could.
But if thou dost, what shall I say to thee?
What may be said to any perjured villain that breaks the sacred warrant of an oath?
What wilt thou say to one that breaks an oath?
That he hath broke his faith with God and man, and from them both stands excommunicate.
What office were it to suggest a man to break a lawful and religious vow?
Oh, an office for the devil, not a man, not for men.
That devil's office must thou do for me, or break thy oath, or cancel all the bounds of love and duty twixt thyself and me. And therefore, Warwick, if thou art thyself the lord and master of thy word and oath, go to thy daughter, and in my behalf command her, woo her, win her any ways to be my mistress and my secret love. I will not stand to hear thee make reply, thy oath break hers, or let thy sovereign die.
Oh, doting king! Oh, detestable office! Well may I tempt myself to wrong myself, when he hath sworn me by the name of God to break a vow made by the name of God. But neither will I do. I'll keep mine oath, and to my daughter make a recantation of all the virtue I have preached to her. I'll say she must forget her husband Salisbury. Wait, he's doing this? Is he going to do it?
Yeah.
Oh. I'll say she must forget her husband Salisbury, if she remember to embrace the king. I'll say an oath may easily be broken, but not so easily pardoned, being broken. I'll say it is true charity to love, but not true love to be so charitable. I'll say his greatness may bear out the shame, but not his kingdom can buy out the sin. I'll say it is my duty to persuade, but not her honesty to give consent. See where she comes. Was never father had against his child an embassage so bad?
My lord father, I've sought for you. My mother and the peers importune you to keep the presence of his majesty, and do your best to make his highness merry.
How shall I enter into this graceless errand? I must not call her child, for where's the father that will in such a suit seduce his child? Then, wife of Salisbury, shall I so begin? No, he's my friend, and where is found the friend that will do friendship such endamagement? Neither my daughter nor my dear friend's wife. I am not Warwick, as thou thinkest. I am but an attorney from the court of hell, that thus hath housed my spirit in his form to do a message to thee from the king. The mighty king of England dotes on thee. He that hath power to take away thy life hath power to take thy honor. Then consent to pawn thine honor rather than thy life. Honor is often lost and got again, but life, once gone, hath no recovery. The sun that withers hay doth nourish grass. The king that would disdain thee will advance thee. What mighty men misdo, they can amend. The king will in his glory hide thy shame, and those that gaze on him to find out thee will lose their eyesight looking in the sun. What can one drop of poison harm the sea, whose huge vastures can digest the ill and make it lose his operation? The king's great name will temper thy misdeeds and give the bitter potion of reproach a sugared, sweet, and most delicious taste. Thus have I, in his majesty's behalf, apparelled sin in virtuous sentences, and dwell upon thy answer in his suit.
Unnatural besiege! Woe me, unhappy to have escaped the danger of my foes, and to be 10 times worse injured by friends. Hath he no means to stain my honest blood, but to corrupt the author of my blood to be his scandalous and vile solicitor? No, let me die, if his too boisterous will have it so, I will consent to be an actor in his graceless lust.
Why, now thou speakest as I would have thee speak, and mark how I unsay my words again. An honorable grave is more esteemed than the polluted closet of a king. So leave I with my blessing in thy bosom, which then convert to a most heavy curse, when thou convertest from honor's golden name to the black faction of bed-blotting shame.
Bed-blotting shame.
Wow. I'll follow thee. And when my mind turns so, my body sink my soul in endless woe.
Right. Act 2, Scene 2, the same room in the castle. Enter one door, Derby from France, and the other door, Audley with a drum. Do I have a Derby from France? Anybody?
Muted. I am Darby. Okay. Thrice noble Audley, well encountered here. How is it with our sovereign and his peers?
'Tis a full fortnight since I thought his highness, what time he sent me forth to muster men, which I accordingly have done, and bring them thither in fair array before his majesty. What news, my lord of Derby, from the emperor?
As good as we desire. The emperor hath yielded to his highness friendly aid, and makes our king lieutenant general in all his lands and large dominions. Then via for the spacious bounds of France.
What, doth his highness leap to hear these news?
I have not yet found time to open them. The king is in his closet, malcontent, for what I know not, but he gave in charge till after dinner none should interrupt him. The Countess Salisbury and her father Warwick all look underneath the brows.
Undoubtedly, then something is amiss.
The trumpet sound, the king is now abroad.
Here comes his highness.
befall my sovereign all my sovereign's wish.
Ah, that thou wert a witch to make it so.
The emperor greeteth you,
Would it were the countess.
and hath accorded your highness suit.
Thou liest, she hath not, but I would she had.
Oh, love and duty to my lord the king.
Well, all but one is none. What news with you?
I have, my liege, levied those horse and foot according as your charge, and brought them hither.
Then let those foot trudge hence upon those horse, according to our discharge, and be gone. Darby, I'll look upon the countess and mind anon.
The countess's mind, my liege?
I mean, the emperor. Leave me alone.
What's in his mind?
Let's leave him to his humor.
Thus from the heart's abundance speaks the tongue. Countess for emperor. And indeed, why not? She is as imperator over me, and I to her. Am as a kneeling vassal that observes the pleasure or displeasure of her eye. What says the more than Cleopatra's match to Caesar now?
That yet, my liege, ere night she will resolve, your majesty.
What drum is this that thunders forth this march to start the tender Cupid in my bosom? Go, bid the drummer learn to touch the lute, or hang him in the braces of his drum. For now we think it an uncivil thing to trouble heaven with such harsh resounds. Away! The quarrel that I have requires no arms, but these are of mine, and these shall meet my foe in a deep march of penetrable groans. How now?
My liege, the drum that stroked the lusty march stands with Prince Edward, your thrice valiant son.
I see the boy. Oh, how his mother's face, molded in his, corrects my strayed desire, and rates my heart and chides my thievish eye, who being rich enough in seeing her, yet seeks elsewhere. And basest theft is that which canst cloak itself on poverty. Now, boy, what news?
I've assembled, my dear Lord Father, and my dear Lord and Father, the choicest buds of all our English blood for our affairs in France, and here we come to take direction from your majesty.
Still do I see in him delineate his mother's visage. Those his eyes are hers, looking wistly on me, make me blush, for faults against themselves give evidence. Lust is fire, and men like lanterns show light lust within themselves, even though they themselves away loose silks of wavering vanity. Shall the large limit of fair Breton by me be overthrown? And shall I not master this little mansion of myself? Give me an armor of eternal steel. I go to conquer kings. And shall I not then subdue myself and be my enemy's friend? It must not be. Come, boy, forward, advance. Let's with our colors sweet the air of France.
My liege, the countess with a smiling cheer desires access unto your majesty.
There it goes. That very smile of hers hath ransomed captive France and set the king, the Dauphin, and the peers at liberty. Go, leave me, Ned, and revel with thy friends. Go fetch the countess hither in thy hand, and let her chase away those winter clouds, for she gives beauty both to heaven and earth. The sin is more to hack and hew poor men than to embrace in unlawful bed. Go, Lodwick, put thy hand into my purse. Play, spend, give, riot, waste, do what thou wilt. So thou wilt hence a while and leave me here. Now, my soul's playfellow, art thou come to speak the more than heavenly word of yea to my objection in thy beauteous love?
My father on his blessing hath commanded.
That thou shalt yield to me.
Aye, dear my liege, your due.
And that, my dearest love, can be no less than right for right, and tender love for love.
Wrong for wrong, and endless hate for hate. But since I see your majesty so bent that my unwillingness, my husband's love, your high estate, nor no respect respected, and be my help, but that your mightiness will overbear in awe these dear regards, I bind my discontent to my content. And what I would not, I'll compel, I will, provided that yourself remove those lets that stand between your highness' love and mine.
Name them, fair countess, and by heaven I will.
Their lives that stand between our love, that I would have choked up, my sovereign.
Whose lives, my lady?
My thrice loving liege, your queen and Salisbury, my wedded husband, who living have that little in our love that we cannot bestow but by their death.
Thy opposition is beyond our law.
So is your desire. The law can hinder you to execute the one, let it forbid you to attempt the other. I cannot think you love me, as you say, unless you do make good what you've sworn.
No more. Thy husband and the queen shall die. Thy beauty makes them guilty of their death and gives an evidence that they shall die. Upon which verdict I, their judge, condemn them.
Perjured beauty, more corrupted judge. When to the great star chamber o'er our heads the universal sessions calls to count this packing evil, we both shall tremble for it.
What says my fair love? Is she resolute?
Lute to be dissolute, and therefore this: keep but thy word, great king, and I am thine. Stand where thou dost, apart a little from thee, and see how I will yield me to thy hands. Here by my side doth hang my wedding knives. Take thou the one, and with it kill thy queen, and learn by me to find her where she lies, and with the other I'll dispatch my love, which now lies fast asleep within my heart. When they are gone, then I'll consent to love. Stir not, lascivious king, to hinder me. My resolution is more nimble far than thy prevention can be in my rescue. And if thou stir, I strike. Therefore stand still, and hear the choice that I will put thee to. Either swear to leave thy most unholy suit, and never henceforth to solicit me, or else by heaven this sharp-pointed knife shall stain thy earth with that which thou wouldst stain, my poor chaste blood. Swear, Edward, swear, or I will strike and die before thee here.
Even by that power I swear that gives me how now the power to be ashamed of myself. I never mean to part my lips again in any words that tends to such a suit. Arise, true English lady, arise, and be my fault thy honor's fame. Whichever ages shall enrich thee with, I am awaked from this idle dream. Warwick, my son, Derby, Artois, and Audley, brave warriors all, where are you this while? Warwick, I make thee warden of the north. Thou, Prince of Wales, and Audley, straight to the sea, scour the new haven. Some there stay for me. Myself, Artois, and Derby will through Flanders to greet our friends there and to crave their aid. This night will scarce suffice a faithful lover, for ere the sun shall give gild the eastern sky, we'll wake him with our martial harmony.
Good. Act 3, Scene 1, Flanders, the French camp. In this scene, we need We need Philip,
I'm Philip.
King John of France, Duke of Lorraine, King of Bohemia, Polish captain, French mariner, and Charles. So just be ready. I'm King John. So here till our navy of 1,000 sail have made a breakfast to our foe by sea. Let us encamp and wait their happy speed. Lorraine, what readiness is Edward in? How hast thou heard that he provided his martial furniture for this exploit? Lorraine.
To lay aside unnecessary soothing and not to spend the time in circumstance. 'Tis bruited for our certainty, my lord, that he's exceeding strongly fortified. His subjects flock as willingly to war as if unto a triumph they were led.
England was wont to harbor malcontents, bloodthirsty and seditious Catalines, spendthrifts, and such as gape for nothing else but changing and alteration of the state. And it is possible that they are now so loyal in themselves.
All but the Scot, who solemnly protests, as heretofore I have informed his grace, never to sheath his sword or take a truce.
Ah, that's the anchorage of some better hope. But on the other side, to think what friends King Edward hath retained in Netherland, doth not a little aggravate mine ire. Besides, we hear the emperor conjoins and stalls him in his own authority. But all the mightier that their number is, the greater glory reaps the victory. Some friends have we beside domestic power. The stern Polian and the warlike Dane and the King of Bohemia and Sicily are all become confederates with us, and as I think are marching hither apace. But soft, I hear the music of their drums, by which I guess their approach is near. Yeah. King of Bohemia. Anybody?
King John of France, as league and neighborhood requires, when friends are in any way distressed, I come to aid thee with my country's force.
And from that's
Go ahead.
nice. And from great Moscow, fearful to the Turk, and lofty Poland, nurse of hardy men, I bring these servitors to fight for thee, who willingly will venture in thy cause.
Welcome, Bohemian King, and welcome all. This your great kindness I will not forget. Besides your plentiful rewards and crowns, that from our treasury ye shall receive, there comes a harebrained notion, decked in pride, the spoil of whom will be a treble gain. And now my hope is full, my joy complete. Then blind and overweening Ned to reach at our imperial diadem is either to be swallowed of the waves or hacked to pieces when thou comest ashore. French mariner, anybody?
Near to the coast I have decried thee, my lord. As I was busy in my watchful charge, the proud armado of King Edward's ships, which at the first, far off, when I did ken, seemed as if were a grove of withered pines, but drawing near, their glorious bright aspect, their streaming ensigns, wrought of colored silk, like to a meadow full of sundry flowers, adorns the naked bosom of the earth, majestical the order of their course, figuring the horned circle of the moon, and on the top gallant of the admiral, and likewise all the handmaids of his train, the arms of England and of France unite, are quartered equally by heralds' art. Thus, tightly carried with a merry gale, they plough the ocean hitherward amain.
Dare he already crop the fleur-de-lis? But where's our navy? How are they prepared to wing themselves against this flight of ravens?
They, having knowledge brought to them by scouts, did break from anchor straight, and puffed with rage, no otherwise than were their sails with wind made forth, as when the empty eagle flies to satisfy his hungry, griping maw.
There's for thy news. Return until I bark, and if thou escape the bloody stroke of war, and do survive the conflict, come again, and let us hear the manner of the fight. Mean space, my lords, 'tis best we be dispersed to several places, lest they chance to land. First you, my lord, with your Bohemian troops, shall pitch your battles on the lower hand. My eldest son, Duke of Normandy, together with the aid of Muscovites, shall climb the higher ground another way. Here in the middle coast, betwixt you both, Philip, my youngest boy, and I will will lodge. So, lords, be gone and look upon your charge. You stand for France, an empire fair and large. Now is begun the heavy day at sea. Fight, Frenchmen, fight! Be like the field of bears when they defend their younglings in their caves. Stir, angry Nemesis, the happy helm, that with the sulphur battles you rage, the English fleet may be dispersed and sunk.
Kaboom.
Now, boy, thou hearest that what thundering terror 'tis to buckle for a kingdom's sovereignty. The earth with giddy trembling when it shakes, or with the exaltations of the air, breaks in extremity of lightning flash, affrights not more than kings when they dispose to show the rancor of their high swollen hearts. Retreat! Retreat is sounded. One side hath the worse. Oh, if it be the French, sweet fortune, turn. And in thy turning, charge the forward winds, that with advantage of a favoring sky, our men may vanquish and the other fly. My heart misgives. Say, mirror of pale death, to whom belongs the honor of this day. Relate, I pray thee, if thy breath will serve the sad discourse of this discomfiture.
I will, my lord. My gracious sovereign, France has tamed the foal, and boasting Edward triumphs with success. These iron-hearted navies, when last I was reporter to your grace, both full of angry spleen, of hope and fear, hasting to meet each other in the face, at last conjoined, and by our admiral encountered many shot. By this the other, that beheld these twain, give earnest penny of a further wrack, like fiery dragons took their haughty flight, and likewise meeting, from their smoky wombs sent many grim ambassadors of death. Purple the sea, whose channel filled as fast with streaming gore that from the main fell, as did her gushing moisture break into the crannied cleftures of the through-shot planks. Here flew a head, dissembered from the trunk. Here mangled arms and legs were tossed aloft, as when with a whirlwind takes the summer dust and scatters it in middle of the air. Then might ye see the reeling vessels split and tottering sink into the ruthless flood, until their lofty tops were seen no more. All shifts were tried, both for defense and hurt, and now the effect of valor and of force, of resolution and of cowardice, were lively pictured, how the one for fame, the other by compulsion laid about. But all in vain. Both sun, the wind, and tide revolted all unto our foes' men's side, that we perforce were fain to give them way, and they are landed. Thus my tale is done. We have untimely lost, and they have won.
Wow. Then rest there nothing but with present speed to join our several forces all in one, and bid them battle ere they range too far. Come, gentle Philip, let us hence depart. This soldier's words have pierced thy father's heart. Act 3, Scene 2, Picardy, fields near. Enter 3 French citizens, common folk, with baggage in flight.
Well met, Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'm going by that. Okay. Well met, my masters. How now? What's the news? And wherefore are ye laden thus with stuff? What is it? Quarter day and you remove and carry bag and baggage too?
Quarter
day? Aye, and quartering day, I fear. Have you not heard the news that flies abroad?
What news?
How the French navy is destroyed at sea, and the English army is arrived.
What then?
What then, quoth you? Why, it's not time to fly, when envy and destruction is so nigh.
Condemn thee, man. There are far enough from hence, and will be met, I warrant ye, to their cost, before they break so far into the realm.
Aye, so the grasshopper doth spend the time in mirthful jollity till winter come. We that have charge in such a train as this must look in time to look for them in us. Last when we would, we cannot be relieved.
Be like you then despair of all success and think your country will be subjugate.
We cannot tell. 'Tis good to fear the worst.
Yet rather fight then, like unnatural sons, forsake your loving parents in distress.
Hush. They that have already taken arms are many fearful millions in respect of that small handful of our enemies, but 'tis a rightful quarrel must prevail. Edward is son unto our king's late sister, when John Valois is 3 degrees removed.
Fly, country, men and the citizen of France, sweet flower and peace, the root of happy life is quite abandoned and export the land. Instead of whom ransacked constraining war sits like to the ravens upon the housetops. Slaughter and mischief walk within your streets, and unrestrained make a havoc as they pass. The form whereof even now myself beheld upon the fair mountain whence I came. For so oft as I directed mine eyes, I might perceive 5 cities all on fire, cornfields and vineyards burning like an oven, and like the reeking vapor of the wind turned but aside. I likewise might discern the poor inhabitants escaped the flame fall numberless upon the soldiers' pikes. There are the ways these dreadful ministers of wrath do tread the measures of their magic march. Upon the right hand comes the conquering king, upon his left his hot unbridled son, and in the midst of our nation's glittering host, all which through distant yet conspire in one to leave a desolation where they come. Fly therefore, citizens, if you be wise, seek out some habitation further off. Away, away, methinks, I hear the drums. Ah, wretched France, I greatly fear thy fall. The glory shaketh like a tottering wall.
Exit the pirate.
Act 3, Scene 3, the same with drums.
Where's the Frenchman by whose cunning guide we found the shallow of this river Somme and had directions how to pass the sea?
We haven't cast this. Gobin. He's a Frenchman.
Here, my good lord.
What art thou called? Tell me thy name.
Gobin de Grasse, if you please, your excellence.
Then, Gobin, for the service thou hast done, we here enlarge and give thee liberty. And for a recompense beside this good, thou shalt receive 500 marks in gold. I know not how we should have met our son, whom now in heart I wish I might behold.
Good news, my lord. The prince is hard at hand, and with him comes Lord Audley and the rest, whom since our landing we could never meet.
Welcome, fair prince. How hast thou sped, my son, since thy arrival on the coast of France?
Successfully, I thank the gracious heavens. Some of their strongest cities we have won, as Barfleur, Lo, Cote, and Quarantine, and others wasted, leaving at our heels a wide apparent field and beaten path for solitariness to progress in. Yet those would submit we kindly pardoned, but who in scorn refused our proffered peace, endured the penalty of sharp revenge.
Ah, France, why shouldst thou be thus obstinate against the kind embracement of thy friends? How gently had we thought to touch thy breast and set our foot upon thy tender mold, and that in forward and disdainful pride thou, like a skittish and untamed colt, dost start aside and strike us with thy heels. But tell me, Ned, in all thy warlike course, hast thou not seen the usurping king of France?
Yes, good my lord, and not 2 hours ago, with full 100,000 fighting men, upon one side of the river's bank, and on the other both his multitudes. I feared he would crop our smaller power, but happily, perceiving your approach, he hath withdrawn himself to Crecy Plains, where, as it seemeth by his good array, he means to bid us battle presently.
We shall be welcome. That's the thing we crave.
Edward, know that John, the true king of France, musing thou shouldst approach upon his land, and in thy tyrannous proceedings slay his faithful subjects and subverts his towns, spits in thy face, and in the manner following upbraids thee with thine arrogant intrusion. First, I condemn thee for a fugitive, a thievish pirate, and a needy mate. Next, insomuch as thou hast infringed thy faith, broke liege and solemn covenant made with me, I hold thee for a false, pernicious wretch. And last of all, although I scorn to cope with one so much inferior to myself, yet in respect thy thirst is all for gold, thy labor rather to be feared than loved, to satisfy thy lust in either part, here I come with me I have brought exceeding store of treasure, pearl, and coin. Leave, therefore, now to persecute the weak and armed entering conflict with armed, let it be seen amongst other petty thefts, how thou canst win this pillage manfully.
If gall or wormwood have a pleasant taste, then is thy salutation honey sweet. But as the one hath no such property, so is the other most satirical. Yet wot how I regard thy worthless taunts. If thou have uttered them to foil my fame or dim the reputation of my birth, know that thy wolvish barking cannot hurt. If slyly to insinuate with the world, and with a strumpet's artificial line, to paint thy vicious and deformed cause, be well assured, the counterfeit will fade, and in the end thy foul defects be seen. And if thou didst it to provoke me on, or who should say I were but timorous, or coldly negligent, did need a spur, bethink thyself how slack I was at sea, how since my landing I have won no towns, entered no further upon the coast, and there have ever since securely slept. But if I have been otherwise employed, imagine, Valois, whether I intend to skirmish, not for pillage, but for the crown which thou dost wear, and that I vow to have. Or one of us shall fall into this his grave. Therefore, Valois, say, wilt thou yet resign before the sickles thrust into the corn, or that in kindled fury turn to flame?
Edward, I know what right thou hast in France, and here I basely will resign my crown. This champion field shall be a pool of blood, and all our prospect as a slaughtered house.
Aye,
Prince.
Prince, sorry.
That approves thee, tyrant, what thou art. No, no, father, king or shepherd of thy realm, but on the tears her entrails with thy hands, and like a thirsty tiger suckst her blood.
You peers of France, why do you follow him that is so prodigal to spend your lives?
Whom should they follow, aged impotent, but he that is their true-born sovereign?
Upbraid'st thou him because within his face time hath engraved deep characters of age? Know these grave scholars of experience, like stiff-grown oaks, will stand immovable when whirlwind quickly turns up younger trees.
Father, range your battles, prate no more. These English fain would spend the time in words that, night approaching, they might escape unfought.
Lords and my loving subjects, now 'tis time that your intended force must bide the touch. Therefore, my friends, consider this in brief. He that you fight for is your natural king. He against whom you fight, a foreigner. He that you fight for rules in clemency and reigns you with a mild and gentle bit. He against whom you fight, if you prevail, will straight enthrone himself in tyranny, make slaves of you, and with a heavy head curtail and curb your sweetest liberty. Then, to protect your country and your king, let but the haughty courage of your hearts answer the number of your able hands, and we shall quickly chase these fugitives. For what's this Edward but a belly god, a tender and lascivious wantonness, and that other day was almost dead for love? And what, I pray you, is his goodly guard? such as, but scant of them their chines of beef, and take away their downy feather beds, and presently they are resty stiff, as twere many overridden jades. Then Frenchmen scorn that such should be your lords, and rather bind ye in captive bands.
Vive la
Roy!
Save
God
King
save
John.
King John of France.
Now on this plain of Crecy, spread yourselves, and Edward, when thou darest, begin the fight.
We presently will meet thee, John of France. And English lords, let us resolve this day either to clear us of that scandalous crime, or be entombed in our innocence. Then thus our steeled battles shall be ranged. The leading of the wayward, that is thine. To dignify whose lusty spirit the more, we temper it with Audley's gravity, that courage and experience joined in one, your manage may be second unto none. For the main battles I will guide myself and Derby, in the rearward march behind, that orderly disposed and set in ray. Let us to horse, and God grant us this day.
All right, Act 3, Scene 4, the same. Alarm, many a Frenchman flying. After them, Prince Edward running. Then enter King John and Duke of Lorraine. All of Lorraine, say, what mean our men to fly? Our number is far greater than our foes.
Did I read that last time?
Oh,
Yeah.
I did. The garrison, the garrison of Genoise, my lord, that came from Paris, weary with their march, grudging to be so suddenly employed, no sooner in the forefront took their place, but straight retiring, so dismayed the rest, as likewise they betook themselves to fight, in which for hands to make a safe escape, more in the clustering throng are pressed to death than by thy enemy 1,000-fold.
Oh, hapless fortune! Let us say, if we cannot counsel some of them to stay. Exude. Act 3, Scene 5, the same. Enter King Edward and Audley.
Lord Audley, whilst our son is in the chase, withdraw our powers unto this little hill, and here a season let us breathe ourselves.
I will, my lord.
Just dooming heaven, whose secret providence to our gross judgment is inscrutable. How are we bound to praise thy wondrous works? Thou hast this day given way unto the right, and made the wicked stumble at themselves.
Rescue, King Edward, rescue for thy son.
Rescue, Artois. What, is he prisoner? Or by violence fell beside his horse?
Neither, my lord, but narrowly beset with turning Frenchmen, whom he did pursue, and 'tis impossible he should escape, except your highness presently descend.
The prince, my lord, the prince. Oh, succor him. He is close encompassed with a world of odds.
Then will he win a world of honor too. If he will by valor can redeem him thence. If not, what remedy? We have more sons, that one to comfort our declining age.
Renowned Edward, give me leave, I pray, to lead my soldiers, where I may relieve your grace's son, in danger to be slain. The snares of French muster about him, whilst he, lion-like, entangled in the net of their assaults, frantically rends and bites the woven toil, but all in vain. He cannot free himself.
Oddly content. I will not have a man on pain of death sent forth to succor him. This is the day ordained by destiny to season his courage, and those grievous thoughts that, if he breaketh out, Nestor's years on earth will make him savor still of this exploit.
Ah, but he shall not live to see those days.
Why then his epitaph is lasting praise.
Yet, good my lord, 'tis too much willfulness to let his blood be spilt that may be saved.
Exclaim no more, for none of you can tell whether a borrowed aid will serve or no. Perhaps he is already slain or ta'en. Let Edward be delivered by our hands, and still in danger, he'll expect the like. And if himself redeem from thence, he will have vanquished cheerful death and fear. and ever after dread their force no more than if they were but babes or captive slaves.
Oh, cruel father. Farewell, Edward, then.
Farewell, sweet prince, the hope of chivalry.
Oh, would my life might ransom him from death.
But soft, methinks I hear the dismal charge of trumpets' loud retreat. All are not slain, I hope, that went with him. Some will return with tidings, good or bad.
Enter Prince Edward in triumph, bearing his hands.
A joyful sight, victorious Edward lives.
Yeah.
Welcome, brave prince.
Welcome, Plantagenet.
First, having done my duty as beseemed, lords, I greet you all with hearty thanks. And here, with humble duty, I present this sacrifice, this first fruit of my sword, cropped and cut down even at the gate of death, the King of Boheme, father whom I slew, whose thousands had entrenched me round about. But in despite, I carved my passage forth, and put the multitude to speedy flight. Lo, thus hath Edward's hand filled your request, and done, I hope, the duty of a knight.
Aye, well thou hast deserved a knighthood, Ned. And therefore, with thy sword yet reeking warm with blood of those that fought to thine bane, arise, Prince Edward, trusty knight at arms. This day thou hast confounded me with joy, and proved thyself fit heir unto a king.
Here's a note, my gracious lord, of those that in this conflict of our foes were slain. 11 princes of esteem, 80 barons, 120 knights, and 30,000 common soldiers. And of our men, 1,000.
God be praised. Now, John of France, I hope thou knowest King Edward for no wantonness, no love sick cockney, nor his soldiers jades. But which way is the fearful king escaped?
Towards Poitiers, noble father, and his sons.
Nay, thou and Audley shall pursue them still. Myself and Derby will to Calais straight, and there be girt that haven town with siege. Now lies it on an upshot. Therefore strike, and whistly follow whilst the game's on foot.
All right. Ooh, crap. Sorry. Oh, I was there. Okay. Act 4, Scene 1. Britannia, camp of the English. Enter Lord Montfort with a coronet in his hand, and with him the Earl of Salisbury. I don't know if we have a Montfort. Anybody?
I'll read it. My Lord of Salisbury, since by your aid mine enemy Sir Charles of Blois is slain, and I again am quietly possessed in Britannia's dukedom, know that I resolve for this kind furtherance of your king and you to swear allegiance to his majesty, in sign whereof receive this coronet, bear it unto him, and with all mine oath, never to be but Edward's faithful friend.
I take it, Montfort. Thus, I hope, ere long, the whole dominions of the realm of France will be surrendered to his conquering hand. Now, if I knew but safely how to pass, I would at Calais gladly meet his grace, whither I am by letters certified that he intends to have his host removed. It shall be so, this policy will serve. Ho, who's within? Bring Villiers to me. Villiers, thou knowest thou art my prisoner, and that I might for ransom, if I would, require of thee 100,000 francs, or else retain and keep thee captive still. But so it is that for a smaller charge thou mayest be quit, and if thou wilt thyself. And this it is. Procure me but a passport of Charles, the Duke of Normandy, that I, without restraint, may have recourse to Calais, through all the countries where he hath to do, and then thou shalt be set at liberty. How sayest thou? Wilt thou undertake to do it?
I will, my lord, but I must speak with him.
Why, so thou shalt. Take horse and post from hence. Only before thou goest, swear by thy faith that if thou canst not compass my desire, thou wilt return my prisoner back again, and that shall be sufficient warrant for me.
To that condition I agree, my lord, and will unfeignedly perform the same.
Farewell, Villiers. Thus once I mean to try a Frenchman's faith.
All right, Act 4, Scene 2, Picardy, the English camp before Calais. Enter King Edward with Derbian soldiers.
Since they refuse our proffered league, my lord, and will not ope their gates and let us in,
Fine.
we will entrench ourselves on every side, that neither victuals nor supply of men may come to succor this accursed town. Famine shall combat where our swords are stopped.
The promised aid that made them stand aloof is now retired and gone another way. It will repent them of their stubborn will. But what are these poor ragged slaves, my lord?
Ask what they are. It seems they come from Calais.
You wretched patterns of despair and woe, what are you, living men or gliding ghosts, crept from your graves to walk upon the earth?
Poor Frenchmen.
No ghosts, my lord, but men that breathe a life far worse than is the quiet sleep of death. We are distressed, poor inhabitants that long have been diseased, sick, and lame. And now, because we are not fit to serve, the captain of the town hath thrust us forth, that so expensive victuals may be saved.
A charitable deed, no doubt, and worthy praise. But how do you imagine then to speed? We are your enemies. In such a case, we can no less but put ye to the sword, since when we proffered truce, it was refused.
And if your grace no otherwise vouchsafe, as welcome death is unto us as life.
Poor silly men, much wronged and more distressed. Go, Darby, go, and see that they be relieved. Command that victuals be appointed them, and give to everyone 5 crowns apiece.
Sacre bleu! Mon Dieu!
The lion scorns to touch the yielding prey, and Edward's sword must flesh itself in such as willful stubbornness hath made perverse. Lord Percy, welcome. What's the news in England?
I don't know if we have a Percy. Anybody?
The Queen, my lord, comes here to your grace, and from her highness and the Lord Vicegerent, I bring this happy tidings of success. David of Scotland, lately up in arms, thinking belike he soon should prevail, your highness being absent from the realm, is by the fruitful service of your peers and painful travail of the queen herself, that big with child was every day in arms, vanquished, subdued, and taken prisoner.
Thanks, Percy, for thy news with all my heart. What was he took him prisoner in the field?
Squire, my lord, John Copeland is his name, who, since entreated by her majesty, denies to make surrender of his prize to any but unto your grace alone, whereat the queen is grievously displeased.
Well, then we'll have a pursuivant dispatch to summon Copeland hither out of hand, and with him he shall bring his prisoner king.
The queen's my lord herself by this at sea, and purposeth as soon as wind will serve to land at Calais and to visit you.
You shall be welcome, and to wait her coming, I'll pitch my tent near the sandy shore.
He's pitch his tent. The burgesses of Calais, mighty king, have by a council willingly decreed to yield the town and castle to your hands, upon condition it will please your grace to grant the benefit of life and goods.
They will so. Then belike they may command, dispose, elect, and govern as they list. No, Sirrah, tell them that since they did refuse our princely clemency at first proclaimed, then shall not have it now, although they would. I will accept not, but fire and sword, except within these 2 days, 6 of them that are the wealthiest merchants in the town come naked, all but for their linen shirts, with each a halter hanged around his neck, and prostrate yield themselves upon their knees to be afflicted, hanged, for what I please. And so you may inform their masterships.
Why, this is to trust a broken staff. Had we not been persuaded, John, our king, would with his army have relieved the town. We had not stood upon defiance so. But now tis past that no man can recall, and better some do go to rack than all. Okay, Act 4, Scene 3, Porto, fields near Poitiers, the French camp, tent of the Duke of Normandy, Inner Charles of Normandy and Villiers, VA.
I wonder, Villiers, thou shouldst importune me for one that is our deadly enemy.
Oh, for his sake, my gracious lord, so much. I am become an earnest advocate, as thereby my ransom will be quit.
Thy ransom, man? Why needest thou talk of that? Art thou not free, and art not all occasions that happen for advantage of our foes to be accepted of and stood upon?
No, good my lord, except the same be just, for profit must with honor be commixed, or else our actions are but scandalous. But letting pass their intricate objections, will't please your highness to subscribe or no?
Villiers, I will not, nor I cannot do it. Salisbury shall not have his will so much to claim a passport how it pleaseth himself.
Why then I know the extremity, my lord. I must return to prison whence I came.
Return? I hope thou wilt not. What bird thou hast escaped, the fowler's gin, will not beware how she's ensnared again? What is he, so senseless and secure, that, having hardly passed a dangerous gulf, will put himself in peril there again?
Ah, but it is mine oath, my gracious lord, which I in conscience may not violate, or else the kingdom should not draw me hence.
Thine oath? Why that doth bind thee to abide? Hast thou not sworn obedience to thy prince?
In all things that uprightly he commands, but either to persuade or threaten me not to perform the covenant of my word is lawless, and I need not to obey. Therefore, my lord, as willing I return, as if I were to fly to paradise.
Stay, my Villiers, thine honorable mind deserves to be eternally admired. Thy suit shall no longer thus deferred. Give me the paper, I'll subscribe to it. And wheretofore I loved thee as Villiers, herefore I'll embrace thee as myself. Stay, and be still in favor with thy lord.
I humbly thank your grace. I must dispatch and send this passport first unto the earl, and then I will attend your highness' pleasure.
Do so, Villiers, and Charles, when he hath need, be such his soldiers, howsoever he speed.
Come, Charles, and arm thee. Edward is entrapped. The Prince of Wales has fallen into our hands, and we have compassed him. He cannot escape.
But will your highness fight today?
What else, my son? He's scarce 8,000 strong, and we are threescore thousand at the least.
I have a prophecy, my gracious lord, wherein it is written what success is like to happen us in this outrageous war. It was delivered me at Creasy's field by one that is an aged hermit there. When feathered fowls shall make thine army tremble, and flint stones rise and break the battle ray, then think on him that doth not now dissemble, for that shall be the hapless dreadful day. Yet in the end thy foot thou shalt advance, as far in England as thy foe in France.
By this it seems we shall be fortunate, for as it is impossible that stone should ever rise and break the battle ray, or airy fowl make men in arms to quake, so it is like we shall not be subdued. So, or say, this mightn't true, yet in the end, since he doth promise we shall drive him hence and forage their country as they have done ours, by this revenge that loss will seem the less. But all our frivolous fancies, toys, and dreams, once we are sure we have ensnared the son, catch we the father after how we can. Famous last words. Let's not trust the prophecy. Act 4, Scene 4.
Oddly, the arms of death embrace us round, and comfort have we none, save that to die.
This sudden, mighty, and expedient head that they have made, fair prince, is wonderful. Before us in the valley lies the king, vantage with all that heaven and earth can yield. His party stronger than our battle than our whole. His son, the braving Duke of Normandy, hath trimmed the mountain on our right hand up in shining plate. On our left hand lies Philip, the younger issue of the king, toting the other hill in such array that all his gilded upright pikes do seem straight trees of gold, the pendants leaves. Behind us too the hill doth bear his height, for like a half moon opening but one way, it rounds us in. There at our back are lodged the fatal crossbow, and the battle there is governed by the rough Chatillon. Then thus it stands: the valley for our fight the king binds in, the hills on either hand are proudly royalized by his sons, and on the hill behind stands certain death in pay and service with Chatillon.
What tidings, messenger? Be plain and brief.
Messenger, anybody?
The King of France, my sovereign lord and master, greets by me his foe, the Prince of Wales. If thou call forth 100 men of name, of lords, knights, squires, and English gentlemen, and with thyself and those kneel at his feet, he straight will fold his bloody colors up, and ransom shall redeem lives forfeited. If not, this day shall drink more English blood than e'er was buried in our Breton earth. What is the answer to his proffered mercy?
Heaven that covers France contains the mercy that draws from me submissive orisons, that such base breath should vanish from my lips to urge the plea of mercy to a man. The Lord forbid. Return and tell the king my tongue is made of steel, and it shall beg my mercy on this coward Burgonet. Tell him my colors are as red as his, my men as bold, our English arms as strong. Return him my defiance in his face.
I go.
What news with thee?
Another herald. Duke of Normandy, my lord and master, pitying thy youth is so engirt with peril, by me hath sent a nimble-jointed jennet, as swift as ever, yet thou didst bestride, and therewithal he counsels thee to fly, else death himself has sworn that thou shalt die.
Back with the beast, unto the beast that sent him. Tell him I cannot sit a coward's horse. Bid him today bestride the jade himself, for I will stain my horse quite o'er with the blood, and double gild my spurs, but I will catch him. So tell the carping boy, and get thee gone.
Enter another herald.
Edward of Wales, Philip, the second son, to the most mighty Christian king of France. Seeing thy body's living dead expired, all full of charity and Christian love, commends this book, full fraught with prayers, to thy fair hand and for thy hours of life, entreats thee that thou meditate therein, and arm thy soul for her long journey towards. Thus I have done his bidding and return.
Herald of Philip, greet thy lord from me. All good that he can send, I can receive. But thinkst thou not the unadvised boy hath wronged himself in thus pretendering me? Happily he cannot pray without the book. I think him no divine extemporale. Then render back his common place of prayer to do himself good in adversity. Beside, he knows not my sins. He knows not my sins' quality, and therefore knows no prayers for my avail. Ere night his prayer may be to pray to God, to put it in my heart to hear his prayer. So tell the courtly wanton and be gone.
I go.
How confident their strength and number makes them. Now, Audley, sound those silver wings of thine, and let those milk-white messengers of time shew thy time's learning in this dangerous time. Thyself art bruised and
What?
it with many sorry, I'm a thing with many broils and stratagems forepassed with iron pens are texted in thine honorable face. Thou art a married man in this distress, but danger woos me as a blushing maid. Teach me an answer to this perilous time.
To die is all as common as to live. The one in choice, the other holds in chase. For from the instant we begin to live, we do pursue and hunt the time to die. First bud we, and we blow, and after seed, then presently we fall. As a shade follows the body, so we follow death. If then we hunt for death, why do we fear it? If we fear it, why do we follow it? If we do fear, how can we shun it? If we do fear, with fear we do but aid the thing we fear to seize on us the sooner. If we fear not, then no resolved proffer can overthrow the limit of our fate. For whether ripe or rotten, drop we shall, as we do draw the lottery of our doom.
Ah, good old man, 1,000 armors these words of thine have buckled on my back. I will not give a penny for a life, nor a half penny to shun grim death, since for to live is but to seek to die, and dying but beginning of new life. Let come the hour when he that rules it will. To live or die, I hold indifferent.
Act 4, Scene 5, the same, the French camp. Enter King John and Charles. A sudden darkness has defaced the sky. The winds are crept into their caves for fear. The leaves move not, the world is hushed and still. The birds cease singing, and the wandering brooks murmur no wonted greeting to their shores. Silence attends some wonder and expecteth that heaven should pronounce some prophecy. Where or from whom proceeds this silence, Charles?
Our men with open mouths and staring eyes look on each other as they did attend each other's words, and yet no creature speaks. A tongue-tied fear hath made a midnight hour, and speeches sleep through all the waking regions.
But now the pompous sun in all his pride looked through the golden coach upon the world, and on a sudden hath he hid himself, and now the under earth is as a grave, dark, deadly, silent, and uncomfortable. What a deadly outcry do I hear? What deadly outcry do I hear?
Here comes my brother Philip.
All dismayed. What fearful words are those thy looks presage?
A flight! A flight!
Coward, what flight? Thou liest, there needs no flight.
A flight!
Awake thy craven powers and tell on the substance of that very fear indeed, which is so ghastly printed in thy face. What is the matter?
A flight of ugly ravens do croak and hover o'er our soldiers' heads, and keep in triangles and cornered squares right as our forces are embattled. With their approach there came this sudden fog, which now hath hid the airy floor of heaven and made at noon a night unnatural upon the quaking and dismayed world. In brief, our soldiers have let fall their arms and stand like metamorphosed images, bloodless and pale, one gazing on another.
Aye, now I call to mind the prophecy.
Oh!
But I must give no entrance to it here. Return and hearten up these yielding souls. Tell them the ravens, seeing them in arms, so many fare against a famished few, come but to dine upon their hardy work and prey upon the carrion that they kill. Away and comfort up my soldiers, and sound the trumpets, and at once dispatch this little business of a silly fraud.
Jeez.
Behold, my liege, this knight and 40 more, of whom the better part are slain and fled, with all endeavor, sought to break our ranks and make their way to the encompassed prince. Dispose of him as please your majesty.
Go, and on the next bough, soldier, that thou seest, disgrace it with his body presently. For I do hold thee a tree in France too good to be the gallows of an English thief.
My lord of Normandy, I have your pass and warrant for my safety through this land.
Charles.
I'm sorry, Villiers procured it for thee, did he not?
He did.
And is it current thou shalt freely pass?
Aye, freely to the gallows to be hanged, without denial or impediment. Away with him!
I hope your highness will not so disgrace me, and dash the virtue of my seal at arms. He hath my never broken name to show, charactered with this princely hand of mine, and rather let me leave to be a prince than break the stable verdict of a prince. I do beseech you, let him pass in quiet.
Thou and thy word lie both in my command. What canst thou promise that I cannot break? Go, hang him, for thy license lies in me, and my constraint stands the excuse for thee.
What? Am I not a soldier in my word? Upon my soul, had Edward, Prince of Wales, engaged his word, writ down his noble hand for all your knights to pass his father's land, the royal king, to grace his warlike son, would not alone safe conduct give to them, but with all bounty feasted them and theirs.
Dwellest thou on precedents? Then be it so. Say, Englishman, of what degree thou art?
An earl in England, a prisoner here. And those that know me call me Salisbury.
Then, Salisbury, say whither thou art bound.
To Calais, where my liege King Edward is.
To Calais, Salisbury? Then to Calais pack, and bid the king prepare a noble grave to put his princely son, Black Edward, in. And as thou travellest westward from this place, some 2 leagues hence, there is a lofty hill whose top seems topless, for the embracing sky doth hide his high head in her azure bosom. Look upon whose tall top, when thy foot attains, look back upon the humble vale beneath, humble of late, but now made proud with arms. And thence behold the wretched Prince of Wales, hooped with a bound of iron round about. After which sight, to Calais spur amain, and say the prince was smothered and hot and not slain. And tell the king this is not all his will, for I will greet him ere he thinks I will. Away, begone! The smoke but of our shot will choke our foes through, though bullets hit them not. They had bullets? Okay.
A lot
Act
of
four.
a lot of
Actually-
military archaism in this play.
Mhm.
How
I
fares your grace? Are you not shot, my lord?
No, dear Artois, but choked with dust and smoke, and stepped aside for breath and fresher air.
Breathe then, and to it again. The amazed French are quite distract with gazing on the crows. And were our quivers full of shafts again, your grace should see a glorious day of this. Oh, for more arrows, Lord, that's our want.
Courage, Artois, a fig for feathered shafts. With feathered fowls do bandy on our side. What need we fight and sweat and keep a coil when railing crows outscold our adversaries? Up, up, Artois! The ground itself is armed with fire-containing flint. Command our bows to hurl away their pretty colored yew, and to it with stones. Away, Artois, away. My soul doth prophesy we win the day.
Act 4, Scene 7, the same, another part of the field of battle. Our multitudes are in themselves confounded, dismayed and distraught. Swift starting fear hath buzzed a cold dismay through all of our army, and every petty disadvantage props the fear-possessed abject soul to fly. Myself, whose spirit is steel to their dull lead, what with recalling of the prophecy, and that our native stones from English arms rebel against us, find myself attained with strong surprise of weak and yielding fear.
Fly, father, fly! The French do kill the French. Some that would stand let drive at some that fly. Our drums strike nothing but discouragement. Our trumpets sound dishonor and retire. The spirit of fear that feareth not but death cowardly works confusion on itself.
Pluck out your eyes, and see not this day's shame. An arm hath beat an army. One poor David hath with a stone foiled 20 stout Goliaths. Some 20 naked starvelings with small flints hath driven back a puissant host of men, arrayed and fenced in all accomplishment.
Oh, that I were in some other countryman. This day hath set derision on the French, and all the world will blurt and scorn at us.
What, is there no hope left?
No hope but death to bury up our shame.
Make up once more with me. The 20th part of those that live are men enough to quail the feeble handful of the adverse part.
Then charge again, if heaven be not opposed. We cannot lose the day.
On, away! Yeah. Act 5, Act 4, Scene 8. The same, another part of the field of battle. We need the esquire.
How fares my lord?
Even as a man may do that dines at such a bloody feast as this.
I hope, my lord, that is no more mortal scar.
No matter if it be, the count is cast, and in the worst ends but a mortal man. Good friends, convey me to the princely Edward, that in the crimson bravery of my blood I may become him with saluting him. I'll smile and tell him that this open scar doth end the harvest of his Audley's war.
Act 4, Scene 9, the same English tab. This is the last scene of Act 4.
Now, John in France, and lately John of France, thy bloody ensigns are my captive colors. And you, high vaunting Charles of Normandy, that once today sent me a horse to fly, are now the subjects of my clemency. Fie, lords, is it not a shame that English boys, whose early days are yet not worth a beard, should in the bosom of your kingdom thus 1 against 20 beat you up together?
Thy fortune, not thy force, hath conquered us.
An argument that heaven aids the right. See, Artois doth bring with him along the late good counsel giver to my soul. Welcome, Artois, and welcome Philip too. Who now, or you, or I, have need to pray. Now is the proverb verified in you. Too bright a morning breeds a luring day. But say, what grim discouragement comes here? Alas, what 1,000 armed men of France have writ the note of death in Audley's face? What hungry sword hath so bereaved thy face, and looped a true friend from my loving soul?
No, prince, thy sweet bemoaning speech to me is as a mournful knell to one dead sick.
Dear Audley, if my tongue ring out thy end, my arms shall be thy grave. What may I do to win thy life or to revenge thy death?
Victorious prince, if I could hold dim death but at a bay till I did see my liege thy royal father, my soul should yield this castle of my flesh, this mangled tribute, with all willingness to darkness, consummation, dust, and worms.
Cheerily, bold man, thy soul is all too proud to yield her city for one little breach. Lo, to repair thy life, I give to thee 3,000 marks a year in English land.
I take that gift to pay the debts I owe. These 2 poor squires redeemed me from the French with lusty and dear hazard of their lives. What thou hast given me, I give to them. And as thou lovest me, prince, lay thy consent to this bequeath in my last testament.
Now and Audley live, and have for me this gift twice doubled to these esquires and thee. But live or die, what thou hast given away to these and theirs shall lasting freedom stay. Come, gentlemen, I will see my friend bestowed within an easy litter, then will march proudly toward Calais with triumphant pace unto my royal father, and there bring the tribute of my wars, fair France, his king.
All right, Act 5, Scene 1. This is the final scene of the play. English camp before Calais.
No more, Queen Philippa. Pacify yourself. Copeland, except he can excuse his fault, shall find displeasure written in our looks. And now unto this proud resisting town. Soldiers, assault! I will no longer stay to be deluded by their false delays. Put all to sword and make the spoil your own.
Mercy, King Edward, mercy, gracious Lord.
Contemptuous villains, call ye now for truce? Mine ears are stopped against your bootless cries. Sound, drums, alarum! Draw threatening swords!
Our noble prince, take pity on this town and hear us, mighty king. We claim the promise that your highness made. The 2 days' respite is not yet expired, and we are come with willingness to bear what torturing death or punishment you please, so that the trembling multitude be saved.
My promise? Well, I do confess as much, and men of most account that should submit, your peradventure are but servile grooms, or some felonious robbers on the sea, whom, apprehended, law would execute, albeit severity lay dead in us. No, ye cannot overreach us thus.
Son, dear Lord, that in the western fall beholds us now low brought through misery, did in the orient purple of the morn salute our coming forth when we were known, or may our portion be with damned fiends.
If it be so, then let our covenant stand. We take possession of the town in peace. But for yourselves, look ye for no remorse. But as imperial justice hath decreed, your bodies shall be dragged about these walls, and after feel the stroke of quartering steel. This is your doom. Go, soldiers, see it done.
I think we need a Queen Philippa.
I'll do it. Ah, be more mild unto these yielding men. It is a glorious thing to establish peace. And kings approach the nearest unto God by giving life and safety unto men. As thou intended to be king of France, so let her people live to call thee king. For what the sword cuts down or fire hath spoiled is held in reputation none of ours.
Although experience teach us this is true, that peaceful quietness brings most delight when most of all abuses are controlled. Yet in so much it shall be known that we as well can master our affections as conquer other by the dint of sword. Philippa, prevail. We yield to thy request. These men shall live to boast of clemency, and tyranny strike terror to thyself.
Long live your highness, happy be your reign.
Happy be your reign.
Go, get you hence. Return unto the town. And if this kindness hath deserved your love, learn then to reverence Edward as your king. Now, might we hear our affairs abroad? We would till gloomy winter were o'er spent, dispose our men in garrison a while. But who comes here?
Pablo, my lord, and David, King of Scots.
Is this the proud, presumptuous esquire of the north that would not yield his prisoner to my queen?
I am, my liege, a northern esquire indeed, but neither proud nor insolent, I trust.
What moved thee then to be so obstinate to contradict our royal queen's desire?
No willful disobedience, mighty lord, but my desert and public law at arms. I took the king myself in single fight, and like soldiers would be loath to lose the least preeminence that I had won. And Copeland straight upon you. What is that? And Copeland straight upon your highness charge. Oh, it's come to France with a lowly mind, doth veil the bonnet of his victory. Receive, dread lord, the custom of my fought, the wealthy tribute of my laboring hands, which should long since have been surrendered up, but had but your gracious self been there in place.
I pray thee, Philippa, let displeasure pass, for this man doth please me, and I like his words. For what is he that will attempt great deeds and lose the glory that ensues the same? All rivers have recourse unto the sea, and Copeland's faith, relation to his king. Kneel therefore down. Now rise, King Edward's knight. And to maintain thy state, I freely give 500 marks a year to thee and thine. Welcome, Lord Salisbury. What news from Bretagne?
This, mighty king, the country we have won, and John de Montfort, regent of that place, presents your highness with this coronet, protesting true allegiance to your grace.
I thank thee for thy service, valiant earl. Challenge our favor, and we owe it thee.
But now, my lord, as this is joyful news, so must my voice be tragical again, and I must sing of doleful accidents.
What? Have our men the overthrow of Poitiers? Or is our son beset with too much odds?
He was, my lord, and as my worthless self with 40 other serviceable knights, under safe conduct of the Dauphin's seal, did travail that way, finding him distressed. A troop of lances met us on the way, surprised, and brought us prisoners to the king, who, proud of this and eager of revenge, commanded straight to cut off all our heads. And surely we had died, but that the duke, more full of honor than his angry sire, procured our quick deliverance from thence. But ere we went, salute your king, quoth he, bid him provide a funeral for his son. Today our sword shall cut his thread of life, and sooner than he thinks, we'll be with him to quittance those displeasures he hath done. This said, we passed, not daring to reply. Our hearts were dead, our looks diffused and wan. Wondering at last, we climbed into the hill, from whence, although our grief were much before, yet now to see the occasion with our eyes, did thrice so much increase our heaviness. For there, my lord, oh, there we did to cry down in a valley how both armies lay. The French had cast their trenches like a ring, and every barricado's open front was thick embossed with brazen ordnance. And in the midst stood famous Edward, still expecting when those dogs of France would fasten on his flesh. Anon the death-procuring knell begins. Off go the cannons, that with trembling noise did shake the very mountain where they stood. Then sound the trumpets' clangor in the air, the battles join, and, when we could no more discern the difference twixt the friend and foe, so intricate the dark confusion was, away we turned our watery eyes with sighs as black as powder fuming into smoke. And thus, I fear, unhappy have I told, the most untimely tale of Edward's fall.
Ah, me, is this my welcome into France? Is this the comfort that I look to have? Oh, y'all, my screen just went crazy. No, seriously, it's leaping all around. Somebody else needs to take that over. I can't get it to work.
When I should meet with my beloved son, sweet Ned, I would thy mother in the sea had been prevented of this mortal grief.
Content thee, Philippa. 'Tis not tears will serve to call him back. If he be taken hence, comfort thyself as I do, gentle queen, with hope of sharp, unheard of, dire revenge. He bids me to provide his funeral, and so I will. But all the peers in France shall mourners be, and weep out bloody tears until their empty veins be dry and sere.
Gerald. Anybody?
Rejoice, my lord, ascend the imperial throne, the mighty and redoubted Prince of Wales, great servitor to bloody Mars in arms. The Frenchman's terror and his country's fame, triumphant rideth like a Roman peer, and lowly at his stirrup comes afoot King John of France, together with his son in captive bonds, whose diadem he brings to crown thee with, and to proclaim thee king.
Away with mourning, Philippa, wipe thine eyes. Sound, trumpets, welcome in Plantagenet.
Be this a token to express my joy, for inward passion will not let me speak.
My gracious father, here receive the gift. This wreath of conquest and reward of war, got with a mickle peril of our lives, as e'er was thing of price before this day. Install your highness in your proper right, and herewithal I render to your hands these prisoners, chief occasion of our strife.
So, John of France, I see you keep your word. You promised to be sooner with ourselves than we did think for, and 'tis so indeed. But had you done at first as now you do, how many civil towns had stood untouched, that now are turned to ragged heaps of stones? How many people's lives mightst thou have saved, that thou untimely sunk into their graves?
Edward, recount not things irrevocable. Tell me what ransom thou requestest to have, requires to have.
Thy ransom, John, hereafter shall be known. But first to England, thou must cross the seas to see what entertainment it affords. Howe'er it falls, it cannot be so bad as ours hath been since we arrived in France. Here, English lords, we do proclaim a rest, an intercession of our painful arms. Sheath up your swords, refresh your weary limbs, peruse your spoils, and after we have breathed a day or two within this haven town, God willing, then for England we'll be shipped, where in happy hour, I trust, we shall arrive. 3 kings, 2 princes, and a queen.
Yay!
2 hours and 5 minutes.
Oh, not bad.
Not
That's
bad.
not bad.
And that's
We're gonna-
cold reading, basically.
Yeah. Have to have some battles in there too.
Have to have a couple of battles.
It's interesting, like how much it seems like some parts seem like so similar to Henry the Fifth. Yeah.
Yep.
But I mean, I guess
Like
like
just warming up with this, and then he got
yeah,
it,
exactly.
he got it down on Henry V.
Was doing a bit of a warm up, then he came back. Hey, some of that was pretty good. Let me keep this in. Let me take this and put it in Henry V. Also, something I read somewhere that said at least like I want to say somewhere in the 60% of all English people are related to Edward III.
Really? Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's interesting, and so I mean, also like in there with the whole only the male heir can succeed is where like
The Salic law.
yeah is where like Henry V gets his like want to fight against it. I don't know. Does anybody else have any thoughts on Edward III here?
It was better than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. There's probably more cuts that could be made, maybe in the beginning, maybe with, I suggested the Copeland stuff. We can talk about that if you want.
Who is Copeland? Is he like a famous person? Somebody
I haven't really done much research on him. He appears in one of the chronicles. Let me just, if you want me to, I can take a quick look at some notes, but yes. John of Copeland, an esquire who captured King David of Scotland at the Battle of Neville's Cross, was rewarded a knighthood and a yearly pension. So yeah, he happened to capture the King of Scots at Neville's Cross.
Some random, really lucky soldier.
Sounds that way.
I guess he never went on to like have like a big house or
Well, that's a pretty good pension he got, but he doesn't become a noble or anything. He stays a knight, as far as the record shows, as far as I can tell.
yeah. I mean, I think mostly just some more like shaving of like flowery language might cut it down.
There's shaving, particularly in that first act, I think, and maybe some of the courtship scenes.
Yeah, what does everybody think about? I mean, of course we got to leave it, but the quote unquote courtship scenes.
I was
Just
getting
be-
whiplash.
I was too.
Oh, yeah.
Gonna do it?
It has some of Shakespeare's best language in the whole play. That's the hard part about cutting it, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No matter how
That's
awkward it
probably-
is, it's some of the best writing in the whole show.
Yeah. It's just like such an odd thing. Right, anyway, yeah. So I thank everybody for doing this reading. It was enlightening. I gotta say. As David said, I mean, it's not as bad as you think, and I think it'll be a lot of fun in Mandy's hands and with some.
Oh yeah. That's what
some
they say
blood.
about all my plays. They're not as bad as you think.
Well, and I do think reading like this always helps more than just kind of reading it on your own to
Mhm.
kind of be like,
Mhm.
okay, yeah, because I agree. I didn't have high hopes for it, but it was definitely better than I thought it would be.
Mhm.
All right, so we'll have a reading on Saturday at 11 of Richard.
That Richard the Second.
Yeah,
That's my
So-
favorite.
yeah.
Me too. I love it.
Yeah.
Richard the second is the grandson of Edward III, who became king at 12, I believe.
Son of Prince.
He's the son of the Black
the son of the
Prince,
prince, yeah.
of the Prince of Wales, who died
Yeah.
before his father did.
So if anybody wants to read in that, I'll email me and I'll send out a link to a script and some and the character breakdown and stuff, and hopefully we can get roles assigned.
What time on Saturday,
Yay!
Jason?
What time?
11 o'clock.
What
It'll be,
time on Saturday?
11 a.m.
What time?
Saturday.
Sorry.
11 a.m.
11.
Okay, so that's
on
10 my time. Okay.
yeah, Eastern Standard Time.
Okay, yeah.
All right, everybody, it was fun. Thanks for
Thank
for
you.
being there,
Thank you.
and
Nice to see y'all.
Thanks,
see everybody.
everybody.
Everybody.